The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is arguably one of the most anticipated Nintendo Switch games of all time, and one of the most anticipated games of 2023 in general. There are so many people that are really looking forward to the sequel of Breath of the Wild and finally seeing what this game is like. Now, earlier last month, there was a small controversy that started surrounding this game as people noticed that Nintendo actually changed the price of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom from the standard $59.99 price of any normal Nintendo Switch game to actually being a premium now of $69.99, like the prices that you see now for most PlayStation 5 games. Now, I already made an entire video kind of breaking down everything about this pricing and looking at it from both sides, about how the $70 price tag actually makes sense for the game and how it can actually work, but also how it's also a little bit weird and can be scummy for them to do this in the middle of like the Nintendo Switch's lifetime right now too. So if you haven't seen that video, you can definitely click the little eye up in the corner right now and go ahead and check that video out, but I'll also put it in the outro of this video if you want to go and watch it after you're done watching this one. But now in this video, I want to talk to you guys about how it looks like we may be spending even more money now on The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom if we really want the entire full experience. So this is actually something right from the official Tears of the Kingdom website, where if we take a look right here and go to the official Zelda website, we can actually scroll down here and see we've got some basic information about the game, the two trailers that they've shown so far, and also that $69.99 pricing. But then also if we scroll down here, we can see some of this stuff like the special edition, the amiibo, but it's really down here when we get into all this like other extra stuff at the very bottom of the website, where if we zoom in and kind of scroll to the bottom here, people have noticed that it says full version of the game required to use DLC for that game, sold separately. So yeah, this kind of makes it seem like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is going to be getting paid DLC on top of just the other stuff that we're already getting with the game. And at first people thought that maybe this was just kind of some like legal stuff that they had to put at the bottom if the game is going to be getting any type of update after you buy it, because even if there's just going to be like free updates and like kind of like patches and stuff coming out, technically that does count as downloadable content. But it's the fact that it says here sold separately, like they're not going to sell you an update file, so it basically implies that you're going to have to buy some other type of content that you're going to be able to add to this game, which basically means that yeah, this game is in fact going to be having DLC. Now, the original Breath of the Wild also came with its own DLC too, and it was a pretty nice DLC in my opinion. I think it was only $20, and it came with the Trial of the Sword, where you had all these different challenges that you could do to be able to unlock the Master Sword's full potential, but then you also had the Champion's Ballad, which came with like really cool things that you could do with each of the champions, and you had some more puzzles and some really cool boss fights and stuff that happened at the end too, and it was a pretty nice DLC overall. So it's not too surprising that Tears of the Kingdom is going to be getting DLC too, but the fact that this game is now going to be costing $70, and maybe this DLC is going to be a little bit more expensive too, if it's going to be $30, you could be looking at like a solid $100 or $100+ just to get the full Zelda Tears of the Kingdom experience, which is definitely getting pretty pricey now, especially if you live in like Canada where the game is going to be $90, the DLC could be like $40 for you. If you're buying the special edition, like you could be looking at like well over $200, maybe like $160, $170-ish, so it is getting very expensive to get this full experience. Now, I've seen some mixed reactions already about this in terms of the DLC, saying that Tears of the Kingdom shouldn't be getting DLC, and I feel like that the thing with this is that we really kind of need to see exactly what the base game is like first, and then also see what they're trying to do with the DLC, because I feel like with DLC, there's definitely two ways that they can go about it. You can definitely have like what I call good DLC, and then also bad DLC. And the easiest way that I describe this to anyone is whatever game that you're talking about with the DLC, that game day one should be like one solid cake of just a lot of content, and it should feel like a very solid game. And then the DLC should feel like extra frosting that's being added on top of it to make it even better. It should not feel like you're getting half the cake day one, and then the other half is being DLC that's being added onto it later. You should be getting a full game. And I feel like Zelda, in terms of Breath of the Wild, definitely did that very well. Breath of the Wild day one, absolutely, you had this huge open world of Hyrule to explore. You had the good solid like 25-ish hour story. You had side quests. You had lots of different things that you could cook and lots of items that you could find and so many different weapons. Like there was a lot of content that you could have for hundreds of hours of fun inside of that game. So it didn't feel like the Trial of the Sword and the Champion's Ballad stuff needed to be in the game day one. It felt like you were getting extra content on top of what you already had. And there's also other games on the Switch that I feel like do DLC pretty well. Smash Ultimate, you of course got 74 fighters in the game day one, so it was basically like a massive cake that you already got with fighters, and then you had like extra frosting of those fighter passes giving you some additional extra characters. Xenoblade is a really big one where you basically have like an entire huge 60+ hour adventure in terms of this RPG with beautiful worlds to explore, a huge, deep, enriching story and all of that, and then you have DLC which basically gives you like another entire game that adds even more lore to the story and connections and cool details and stuff. So Xenoblade 2 was like a very huge expansive game that you already had. And then the Torna DLC that came out for it after was basically like an entire new game where you started back from level 1 again, the final boss was level 50, you had an entire new cast of characters, you had a new map to explore, so it was just like an entire new game again. Now, in terms of examples of bad DLC, the easiest one to take a look at is what they do with those Mario sports games, Mario Golf Super Rush and Mario Tennis Aces, and even the Mario Strikers game that came out last year. Like, what they pretty much do with that is like they have such a bare bones game day one, and people get the game and then they promise like, oh, don't worry, we're going to be adding even more characters, even more updates, and even more maps and all of that, but it's like 2 more lame updates that come out and they barely add anything, and all of that content is definitely done by the time the game releases. They just hold it back on purpose so that they can kind of sprinkle it through DLC later, and it's just a very poor way of going about it. And in terms of the DLC announcement, I do think that they probably are going to show this DLC before Tears of the Kingdom comes out, because it seems like Nintendo does that now with pretty much any major Nintendo Switch game. Even last year, they already announced the Xenoblade 3 expansion pass before the game came out. With Fire Emblem Engage, they announced the expansion pass for that before that game came out. And even all the way back to the original Breath of the Wild, they announced kind of the DLC for that game, I think back in February, like a month before that game came out. So I do think that they're probably going to do the same thing with Tears of the Kingdom, where they're going to give you the expansion pass and they're probably going to announce it like a month or so before the game comes out. And to be honest, I'm predicting that there's probably going to be like a Tears of the Kingdom Zelda Direct that is probably going to be happening sometime in April, because there's still definitely just information that we don't know about this game. Like, I feel like we still need to see like real gameplay of just what it actually looks like, with kind of like the mini map in the corner and what cooking is like and how it looks like with the weapons and how that system works, and just kind of how the menus and the UI and all of that looks like. We still have no clue about how any of that type of stuff looks with this game, so I do think that there's probably going to be like an actual presentation regarding this game that's going to go much more into detail. But yeah, that's pretty much all the information that we have right now, that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom could in fact be getting some paid DLC, and with the base game already costing $70, this DLC could make the full experience of this game be even more pricey. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button, and also subscribe to the channel as well, as I am going to be having some more Nintendo videos very soon. But also comment down below, let me know what you guys think about this. How are you guys feeling about Tears of the Kingdom potentially getting DLC? Are you going to be buying it right away? Are you going to be waiting to see what it's like first and what the pricing of it and everything is going to be? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.